Hi, today I'm here in this rather nice little bit of woodland to make a video about the Trecena of Tijax. And so, the obsidian blade, or the knife, that which cuts, that which purifies, that which cleanses, that which heals. And, kind of like we could think of an overarching theme for the Trecena of Tijax, of being one of purification, of one of being going on your quest to cut through to the truth, to cut through to what is pure, to cut through to what is beautiful, whether it's as a sculptor or whether it's as an editor or however you might see it. It might be a great time to be cleansing, have a, kind of like some kind of cleansing diet for 2 weeks or something like that, in order to, cut through to that beauty, that divinity which is within, that all comes, kind of like when we apply that blade. Now, of course, that kind of, those kind of themes are going to bring healing with them. When we're cutting away the impurities, it's naturally going to enhance our healing. And this could be seen as a quest. This could be seen as, kind of like going on our quest for the betterment of something, to refine it, to use our discernment, to cut cleanly through to a greater state of purity. And so we're going to begin the Trecena on 1 Tijax, which will be the 2nd of September. And this is, of course, our start day. Kind of like the one we're just beginning out. We might need a bit of encouragement. We're, planting the seed, as it were, that's going to take us through this Trecena. And so, kind of like whether this is going on a new quest or finding a new form of healing, a new form of purification. These might all be good themes for that day 1 Tijax that's going to, like I say, help us to embrace that which purifies, that which cleanses. Now, I also associate Tijax with surgery, as it were. And so, kind of like obviously the end goal of that surgery will be healing, but the surgery itself might involve, it's a bit painful, when we're cutting away something which no longer has a place in our life, when we're cutting away something that is going to, has put us out of a state of purity. And so, kind of like we might like to ask the advice about how we're going to go about it, help that seed to grow into something. And so, yes, we might need some encouragement to begin this healing process, this purification process, and 1 Tijax might be a great day to ask for, let's say, the discernment of others to assist in our discernment as to what we want to cut through to. From 1 Tijax on the 3rd of September, we will move into 2 Kawok. And so I often see Tijax and Kawok, these two together being kind of like one starting the healing process and one being the aftercare, one being the surgeon, one being the aftercare, And so with 2 Kawok, this could be seen as the duality of that. Now, Kawok I often refer to as being, tough love. I like to use she with Kawok because I feel that it's a very feminine energy. This nurture that comes with the rain. This healing that comes through the feminine channel. But there's also, that rain can also be the storm. And when it's a storm, then sometimes it can be destructive. Sometimes it can be scary. And with the two, we could see the two aspects being highlighted. It's kind of like cutting through the fear to the healing. Seeing kind of like both sides. The one that washes away that which is done with, and the one that nurtures the new into being. Both can be present in the same thing. And so we could see that as an element on that 2 Kawok day, that yes, it might bring, kind of like the strength of the storm, which washes away what we no longer need to hang on to, cleanses us. But we also see that rebirth, that assistance with that birthing process that comes through Kawok as well. From 2 Kawok, we move into 3 Ajpu, and this will be on the 4th of September. So, 3 Ajpu. Ajpu, the quest for the divine. Ajpu, the search for the higher purpose in life. And here, with the number 3, we see it very much within ourselves. And so, kind of like perhaps this can illuminate us within to understand what it is that we're actually purifying towards. Ajpu can give us the clues of how we might connect to that higher purpose, how we might connect to our inner hero. And, when we see it with the 3, like I say, it's really about going within, about looking within. And so it might be saying kind of like, okay, in this Trecena of Tijax, as we're going through this purification, as we're going through this identification of, how to bring out the best in things, maybe we also need to look within to really see, are those things that we hold on to so dearly, thinking that they are our divine quest, our divine purpose, are they really as divine as we think they are? Where might we need to use our discernment? What attachments might we have that need to be cut away to, some kind of like spiritual ideals or whatever it might be? Maybe there's some things which aren't serving us in the correct way. Maybe there are some things which are actually kind of like hiding us from our, true divine purpose. The 3 is encouraging us to look within, and it's not just kind of like cutting out and removing the impurities around us. It's about cutting out and removing the impurities within us in order to see through to that true purpose, that true higher purpose, that true divine self. 3 Ajpu could be a good day to be going within and searching for that true higher purpose within. From 3 Ajpu, we then move into 4 Imox, and that's going to be on the 5th of September. So Imox, the connection with the water, the connection with the lake. Imox, the connection with the dream and the dream world. And here, if we see it with the number 4 representing the physical reality, representing the grounded nature around us, this could be very much about bringing that dream into reality. In this Trecena of Tijax, as I talk about purity, as I talk about, cutting away the obstructions. So it might be about cutting away the obstructions that are preventing you from realizing your dream into the physical world. Because for me, Imox is very much about that connection with the dream world, but then the 4 is bringing it very much into this world. So it's how do we connect our dreams into the physical world? 4 Imox might give us a very good idea about that. And in this Trecena of Tijax, it might be about removing the obstructions to exactly that process. Now, Imox can also represent our connection to the collective consciousness. And here with the number 4, about grounding it, about the physicality. And if we see it from that point of view, we can understand, there are some very down-to-earth, very grounded things which are existing in, kind of like our physical consciousness right now, kind of like very basic matters that might need our attention, that might have also got too much of our attention. Because sometimes, like those Imox days, we get pulled into, kind of like other people's dreams. We get pulled into the consciousness of, let's say, the country around us, or the, that kind of thing. And on that physical day, it's kind of like it might be very, like, too much down to earth. And so, kind of like, again, if we're using that Tijax nature, how can we cut ourselves free from getting bound into, kind of like that very grounded consciousness that's going on in many countries around us right now? From 4 Imox, we then move into 5 Ik, so that's going to fall on the 6th of September. So Ik, the word, Ik, the breath, Ik, the wind, our ability to communicate. And here with the number 5 representing the hand with which we do the work. It's about putting our work into it, putting our effort into it. And as we see it in the Trecena of Tijax, where we might be purifying, editing, clearing up, putting our effort into our communication, putting our work into our communication. And maybe this is something that we need to do in order to communicate more effectively. And maybe this is an objective during this Trecena of Tijax. How can we use our words in a more clarified way, in a more discerning way, in a more direct way perhaps? And maybe we have to use our energy, maybe we have to use, put our work into crafting those words in a better way, crafting our communication to ensure that we speak with clarity, to ensure that, kind of like maybe there's some editing that goes in to stop us being so long-winded. It can also, be very much about putting our effort into ensuring our words work in the way that we want them to. Yes, it might involve being a bit more direct. Yes, it might involve being a bit more concise. But it might also involve putting our work into ensuring that our words bring healing rather than conflict, because sometimes those ik words can be very strong, and that might well bring conflict. From 5 ik, we then move into 6 Aq'ab'al on the 7th of September. So, 6 Aq'ab'al, Aq'ab'al, the dawn and the dusk. Well, here, sort of like sunsetish time in the forest. Transition between the day and into the night. And here we see that Aq'ab'al time, that transition time, the new concepts, new projects. And here, with that number 6, bringing it down to earth, but also connecting it above and below. And so calling on the upper and lower worlds in order to manifest it into the physical realm. So bringing a great amount of stability to a new idea, bringing a great amount of stability to a new concept. Now, we can also see that that can represent families, and number 6 can represent families. And so when we see that connected with Aq'ab'al, this can be a new concept within our family. And maybe this is part of that Tijax Trecena as well. Maybe this is part of the healing that comes in the Tijax Trecena. Maybe it's part of the purification that comes in the Tijax Trecena. And, sometimes, especially with families, we might have occupied a role or, kind of like have that, people have got a set idea about us because they've known us since they were changing our diaper or something like that, you know what I mean? And maybe it's time to change that concept, change the concepts around us within the family, change the concepts that we hold in our family. Maybe that's part of that healing process. Maybe that's part of that clarification that comes during this Trecena of Tijax. From 6 Aq'ab'al, we then move into 7 Cat. Now that's going to fall on the 8th of September. And so, 7 Cat is kind of like the final release. It's kind of interesting. There is this, for me, well, they're in each other's crosses, but this kind of connection between Tijax and Cat, the ties which bind us, Cat being that which might hold us back. It might be our attachments, and Tijax being the blade that cuts through the binding in order to release us from whatever that might be. Cat being our carrying net, and kind of like asking us to look through and work out what we want to hold on to and what we want to let go of. And here we see it with the number 7 being very much kind of like standing on top of the pyramid, making our decisions, making our choices about what we want to be bound to and what we want to be released from in this Trecena of purification, in this Trecena of discernment. So, there we are going this owned blade, as it were, and on that day, 7 Cat. So it's a great day for sorting out more than just your wardrobe, It's kind of like it's really looking throughout everything that you carry in life to say, is this necessary? Is this required? Is this useful going forwards? Or is this attachment to a place, a person, a job, whatever it might be? Is this helping me? Or has this turned toxic? Because, if you imagine carrying around something that's past its best before date, let's say, then, kind of like if you start eating that, then maybe it'll make you sick. So, kind of like maybe the energy of something that you carry is not actually healthy and beneficial for you. And maybe that's part of that healing process that you're going through, to understand how to release that from your net. Now, maybe 7 Cat is the day to identify that and make your choices about what you want to hold on to and what you want to let go on. From 7 Cat, we then move into 8 Can. So that's going to fall on the 9th of September. So Can, the Nawal of power and wisdom. Can, the Nawal of our teachers. And the 8th day, the 8th day can be seen as a day of ceremony. It could be seen as a day of wholeness. It's understanding kind of like the balance of the wholeness of, kind of like firstly, the balance of power. The balance of power and wisdom that comes in that 8. And understanding there's a relationship between the two of them. And that when we get it right, then we can empower those around us. 8 could be seen as a great day to be making ceremony to give thanks for our teachers. It can be seen as a great day to, kind of like bring out the whole of the wisdom, because the 8 as I see is the wholeness kind of thing. With Can, understanding that there's wisdom in the light, there's wisdom in the dark. If we only draw on one side, then we're not going to kind of like whole wisdom. Sometimes we go through experiences, we draw our wisdom from experiences that we maybe wish that we hadn't had. But those experiences help us to see through the illusions of life. And in this time of discernment, in this time of healing, in this Trecena of Tijax, we need to understand, kind of like we might be using the light wisdom ourselves, but we need to understand the dark wisdom so that we can understand how to see through the illusions that it creates in our lives, because there may be people around us using that as well. From 8 Can, we then move into 9 Kame. So this will fall on the 10th of September. And so Kame, the number of death, 9, the feminine. It's a kind of interesting combination, that 9 Kame. Kame can be the transformer, helping us to overcome our fears. And here, with the number 9, that transformation of our life, the life transformation that comes in this Trecena of Tijax, when we pick up that blade and actually do something with it in order to purify ourselves, in order to, move into higher purpose, in order to cleanse and that kind of thing. And here we see, kind of like 9 Kame, a day to face our fears and transform our lives. Now, I personally see 9 Kame as a very beneficial day. I see it as a very powerful day, kind of like life transformation. What more could you ask for? I think that many of us, if we were going through the time of a cleansing, as we might do in that Trecena of Tijax, then a life transformation is exactly what we're looking for. Now, in order to get there, we're going to have to face our fears. Kind of like maybe it's about overcoming our demons, because, that's what Kame can represent. The demons of the underworld that were taunting the heroes, And so, if there is, let's say, a day on which we might need to put in a little bit of effort in order to get there, it may well be that 9 Kame. I was going to say, it's no fun facing our fears, right? It's no fun facing our demons. But at the same time, this is the day with the potential for the transformation of our lives. And so it's well worth facing them on that day should they appear. From 9 Kame, we then move into 10 Kech, and that's going to fall on the 11th of September. So, Kech, the Nawal of the forest, the Nawal of the wilderness. Kech, the Nawal of with these green spaces. Empowerment through being in the forest. Kech, particular of spiritual leadership, and here we see it with the number 10, representing community, representing agreements, representing society. So, leadership within the community. Now, there's also something for me. This is a great day to, be going on a hike with your friends, with your community, getting out into nature. Maybe it's just falling in that kind of like late autumn time in the northern hemisphere, or I suppose mid-autumn time in the northern hemisphere, or maybe it's falling springtime in the southern hemisphere. Maybe it's just that time where you can take advantage and get out into a beautiful green space like this, connect with nature in order to find your strength. Now, I want to go back to this understanding of the Tijax Trecena being purification and cleansing, and getting out in the fresh air, getting out amongst these oxygen-giving plants and that kind of thing brings us our strength, brings us our courage. And maybe doing it with your friends, doing it with your community is something, it may bring you the strength and courage to get through this cleansing process, to engage with those around you. And maybe also, this is kind of like, when I talk about that sort of essence of spiritual leadership that I see within Kech, this is kind of like asking our advice or asking advice of others, of your community, and so being the leader for each other within that cleansing process. And so I just see it as a very, very communal day where we can get together with green spaces in order to bring each other strength. From 10 Kech, we then move into 11 Anil. So we have Anil representing the ripening. We have Anil representing the brightening. And here we have it with the number 11. The number 11, which I see as, kind of like moving in many different ways, moving very much with this sense of, kind of like just knowing. And we just know which way to go. We don't know how we know, we don't know why we know, we just know that we need to go that way, or we need to go that way. And that way might be a different way to which way we were going before, but it doesn't matter. Because Anil is all about moving into our ripeness, it's about moving into our abundance, receiving the fruits of our labours. And for me, that 11 is always about, when we move intuitively, that might be something where it's not the logical way that we've moved before, but that logical way that we've moved before might not have brought the healing that we were looking for. And so perhaps in order to move into our true brightness, we have to move on those paths that we haven't walked before. So perhaps this is a day to follow your intuition and say, hey, I wonder what's down that trail. I've not been down that before, to go and find out how that might move you closer to your own ripening during this Trecena, during this time of purification and cleansing. From 11 Anil, we'll move into 12 Toch, and this will fall on the 13th of September. And so Toch, the Nawal of giving, of offering. And here with the number 12, representing all of our life, representing all of our life experience. So it might be using our life experience to serve those around us, to serve others. It can also be, kind of like making a payment, paying back for our life experience. So, of course, as we've gone through our life, we've been supported by many things, we've been supported by many people, we've been helped, we've been guided, all of those kind of things. And here we have an opportunity to give thanks for that. We have an opportunity to make our service for it. We give an opportunity to use what we've been shown, use what we've been given, use what we've been told to give back to those around us. So it's an immensely giving day. We can really draw on those resources that we carry in order to give to others. So service on Toch days is always a useful thing with regards to, kind of like looking after ourselves as well. It keeps us healthy in order to make our offering, in order to give something back. So as part of our cleansing process, in this Trecena of Tijax, as we're cutting away the things that may have been, holding us back, one of the things that might have been holding us back might be our debts. Maybe it's that we owe something that we've been owing throughout our lifetime. Maybe we've held on to that debt for a long time. And 12 Toch gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of a life review on what we've been holding on to throughout our lives and make that payment to pay off life experiences so that we can fully clarify ourselves. And then finally, we finish the Trecena on 13 Tz'i and 13 Tz'i. So Tz'i, the Nawala, faith and loyalty and justice and law. And here with the number 13 representing the ancestors and representing the connection with the spirit. And so 13 Tz'i can represent trust in spirit, trust in the ancestors. It can be, kind of like, as we've gone through this process, what does it take us to? A greater sense of trust in our purpose, the purpose which is guided by spirit around us. We can also see that, Tz'i can represent the law, it can represent guidance, and it's kind of like having our faith in what spirit is guiding us towards. But there's also something there with regards to ancestral laws, with regards to ancestral guidance in there. And so it's a very strong Nawal. Now, the other part of that is that it can also represent the vices. And when that 13 is a very, very powerful number. And so, kind of like, we're finishing this Trecena of cleansing on one of the days which, yes, it can represent our vices, and it's cranked right up, and it's almost as if like, right, okay, have you done it? Have you overcome it? As you get to the end of that cleansing time, are you really over that vice? As maybe kind of like this might bring a test from, the ancestors, a test from the spirit world to say, right, okay, congratulations, have you really done it? And so maybe there is like the greatest temptation that might come up on that day, where you have the opportunity to prove that you've gone through that cleansing process. Will you stay faithful and true towards the, kind of like what spirit has guided you to? Or, kind of like, are you going to repeat the pattern again? This might come up on that day. Now, the other thing that we can see with Tz'i as well is, of course, unconditional love. And on this day, this turned up to 13. This is connected with spirit. This is connected with the ancestors. And so, finally, we end in this place where we accept the unconditional love of spirit to guide us forwards and finish our path. So, I hope that's been of interest to you. And I'll see you in 13 days' time for the Trecena of Bats. Thank you.